Joined on the program now by Rob Snoek, the voice of the Peterborough Petes, team that lost in the first round last year and having a good season this year on the strength of 7 NHL draft picks. Rob, tell us about how things are going in Peterborough. Is this what was expected of this Petes team?
Well, I don't know. You mentioned the NHL draft picks, but they actually had more last year. They actually had some real high-end guys as well, and we kind of thought they'd go a little further. But like you said, they lost in the first round, but they did go 7 games against the North Bay Battalion. This is a very young team. I don't know. At the beginning of the year, I'm not sure if people thought they'd be battling for first place in the East Division of the OHL or the Eastern Conference, but they are doing that, and they've got lots of skill. And I don't know what you guys are seeing in the Quebec League, but in the OHL, we're seeing teams are going high skill and a little smaller these days, and the Petes certainly fit the bill in that area. They're having a good year and starting to put together some streaks that are on the good side of things instead of on the bad side of things. And 10 wins in a row certainly was more than anybody expected them to put together, I think.
With a number of draft picks, the two I wanted to focus on first off would be Nikita Korostelev, because we have a lot of Maple Leafs fans in this region. He's a pick of them. And Matt Spencer, the highest pick in the second round by Tampa. Tell us about those guys.
Spencer's been with the team. This is his 4th year now. He was very highly rated coming out of minor midget. 3rd overall pick. He's always been good throughout his OHL career. It seems like he's getting better. In fact, I interviewed him the other day, and I said to him, Matt, I feel like you're playing some of the best hockey of your career, and he says he kind of agrees with that. Not only are the stats slowly starting to come in terms of points, but also plus-minus is really good, and he's a guy who expects so much of himself. He's demanding of himself, and sometimes demanding of others too, and that doesn't always go over as well with other players, but he's slowly kind of become a strong player on this team, a real good leader, arguably their best defenseman, kind of an all-around way, maybe not power play specialist or anything like that, but he's now on the second power play unit and does a nice job there, and he's a good skater, and he's big and strong, and he's very athletic. It feels like he's going to be a pro in the NHL for 8 or 10 years at least. He's that kind of a guy. Nikita Korostelev, well, we've seen him for all of 1 game, and he was the first star. So he came over in a trade from the Sarnia Sting to the Peterborough Petes, a guy who's Maple Leafs 7th-round pick. When you watch him at his best, you say to yourself, how did he slip to the 7th round? And I haven't figured the answer to that yet. Maybe some of the folks in Sarnia would have a better take on that. But for us, he came in here, first game. Not only did he play great, but he seemed to make other guys around him better. And Adam Timlick is one guy, 3rd-year member of the Petes, highly skilled player, a bit smaller. And all of a sudden, Timlick just looked like he was 2 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier. They seem to find each other out there. So we'll see how that develops over time.
You talk about Korostelev coming over. Is that an indication of what the Petes are going to do going forward? Are they going to be a team that's aggressive in trying to win this year, do you think?
I do think so to a certain extent. We've got a few days left before the OHL trade deadline. I see them trying to get better, particularly up front. They feel really good about where they are in net, where they are on the blue line. I think they feel like they need to have more depth at forward and maybe even another high-end forward to kind of really make this push a real push. What we're seeing in the OHL these days is the West is very, very strong. The East is a little bit less strong. As we speak right now, the Petes are only 1 point behind the Oshawa Generals for not only the East Division, but the Eastern Conference lead. And the Generals sort of have this thing sitting above them that they are one of the 3 teams who's been named a finalist for the Memorial Cup next year. So if you're going to be hosting the Cup next year, you want to make sure you have your best foot forward. So there's talk of, Anthony Cirelli maybe getting moved, and their captain. Unfortunately, Peterborough and Oshawa don't trade with each other. It would be wonderful for Peterborough fans if Anthony Cirelli was to find his way to the Liftlock City, but it's almost guaranteed not to happen because the teams have never really done that before.
Lastly, I wanted to ask about the guy behind the bench, familiar to longtime followers of the NHL, Jody Hull. Tell us about him.
I like Jody a lot. His demeanor, he doesn't get too pumped up. He doesn't get too down low. He's pretty even-keeled. Even when he has complaints with referees, you see that more and more. The real pro coaches, they get down off the bench. They wait till the appropriate time. They almost don't stare them down. Jody's like that. The sense that I get from him and kind of what he's parlayed is he wants players to feel like they can look back and know that he's in control. Nothing that's happening is a surprise to him. And so they concentrate on their job because there's no panic in behind them. And what Jody's done in his 4 years as head coach is his second halves of the season have been very good. This is the first time that the first half of the season has been this strong. Everybody's really curious to see if they can continue that. But Jody's one of these guys who, in order to last in the NHL, his game had to change. You don't play 17 years in the show unless you figure out ways to make it work for you. And so when he was in Peterborough back when he was a junior, he was a 50-goal man. He never got near that in the NHL, but he found a way to stick around, whether it was by penalty killing or special teams or being just that solid all-around guy that the coach wanted, and found a way to make it work. And so I think different guys on the team can identify with him for that. He surrounded himself with a good group of coaches as well, so it's worked out really well.
Well, we look forward to seeing how that plays out for the rest of this season. And best of luck to him, you, and the Petes. Thanks for this, Rob.
All right. Thank you very much, Patrick. Take care.
That's Rob Snoek. He is the voice of the Peterborough Petes, joining us at the intermission. You're listening to McDonald Auto Group, Screaming Eagles Hockey, 1270 CJCB.